In the heart of Beijing, within the historic walls of the Zhongnanhai compound, a palpable tension simmered beneath the surface. President Xi Jinping, with a steely gaze, convened with his most trusted advisors, each aware of the gravity of the discussion. The topic at hand was not the usual discourse of missiles or territorial disputes. Instead, it was the strategic leverage of rare earth elements, a domain where China held unparalleled dominance. An elderly general, seasoned by years of strategic planning, meticulously traced the intricate web of global supply chains on a sprawling map. These routes stretched from the mineral-rich mines of China to the bustling factories in America, Germany, Japan, and South Korea. "We control the source," he declared with conviction. "Every advanced weapon, every smartphone, every electric car, they all begin with us, with our resources." The strategy was not to impose an outright embargo, but to employ a tactic of calculated ambiguity, a subtle yet powerful approach. Through subtle restrictions, carefully calibrated export quotas, and rigorous environmental inspections, China would keep the West perpetually guessing, never quite certain of the next move. The objective was crystal clear: to remind the world that the marvels of modern technology, the very backbone of contemporary life, depend on a supply chain that China meticulously controls. With a nod of approval, President Xi endorsed the strategy, setting the plan into motion. China was poised to become not just the world's factory, but the gatekeeper of critical materials, a position of unprecedented power. The message was unmistakable: challenge China's interests, and the repercussions would ripple through the corridors of Silicon Valley, the assembly lines of Detroit, and even the strategic halls of the Pentagon. No shots would be fired in this new form of warfare, just a tightening grip on the world's technological lifeblood, a silent yet potent assertion of power. The dragon, long dormant, had awakened to its hidden power, ready to assert its influence on the global stage. The world, whether it realized it or not, was about to be put on notice, as news headlines began to flash across screens worldwide. In that ornate room, under the glow of chandeliers, a new era of economic warfare was quietly declared, one that would reshape global dynamics. The West's dependence on these critical materials was now a strategic weapon in China's arsenal, a tool of influence and control. China's leverage was no longer a theoretical concept; it was now enshrined in policy, a reality that the world had to contend with. As the meeting concluded, the implications of this strategy began to echo worldwide, sending ripples through global stock markets and political capitals. The era of rare earths had begun, marking a new chapter in the story of global power and influence. What are rare earth elements, and why do they matter so much? Despite the name, they're not especially rare, but they're rarely found in concentrated, easy-to-mine deposits. Extracting them is complex, costly, and often environmentally damaging. Their true power lies in their unique properties: magnetic, luminescent, catalytic. A pinch of neodymium creates the world's strongest magnets, essential for miniaturizing technology. Without rare earths, smartphones would be bricks, and electric motors would be bulky and inefficient. They're the invisible ingredients in everything from TV screens to wind turbines. Control over rare earths isn't just about economics, it's about global security. Understanding this is the first step to understanding the stakes. China's rare earth monopoly was no accident. It was a masterstroke of industrial strategy, carefully planned and executed over decades. The country recognized early on that rare earth elements would be essential for the technologies of the future, from smartphones to electric vehicles and advanced military systems. Deng Xiaoping famously declared, "The Middle East has oil, China has rare earths." This statement wasn't just rhetoric. It became a guiding principle for China's economic planners, who saw rare earths as a strategic resource that could give China leverage on the world stage. The government poured money into the industry, offering generous subsidies, tax breaks, and lax environmental regulations to encourage rapid growth. This support allowed Chinese companies to expand quickly and dominate the market. Chinese companies undercut global competitors by selling rare earths at rock-bottom prices, making it impossible for Western mines to compete. As a result, many Western rare earth mines were forced to shut down, leaving China as the primary supplier. But China didn't stop at mining. It invested heavily in the complex and costly processing technologies needed to turn raw ore into high-value products. This step is crucial, as processing rare earths is technically challenging and environmentally hazardous. Today, even if a country manages to mine rare earths, it often lacks the facilities to process them. As a result, raw materials are frequently shipped to China, where the expertise and infrastructure exist to refine them into usable components. By the early 2000s, China controlled over 90% of global rare earth mining, and nearly all processing for key elements. This dominance gave China immense influence over global supply chains. The West, in pursuit of lower costs and fewer environmental headaches, had outsourced a critical industry to its main rival, not realizing the long-term strategic risks. The world saved money in the short term, but in doing so it incurred a strategic debt that is now coming due, as countries scramble to secure their own supplies. China had captured the entire value chain, from mine to magnet, ensuring that the world's most advanced technologies would depend on Chinese expertise and resources for years to come. Rare earths are woven into the fabric of modern life. Your smartphone's colors, vibration, and sound all rely on them. Even the glass is polished with cerium oxide. In defense, the US military's most advanced systems, F-35 jets, missile guidance, night vision goggles, depend on rare earths. The green energy revolution. Wind turbines and electric vehicles need tons of rare earth magnets. Without them, clean energy goals are at risk. Medical tech, oil refining, fiber optics, and data servers all require rare earths. They're the invisible backbone of the 21st century economy. One country holds the switch. Our high-tech, green, and secure world is built on these elements. The stakes are global, and the vulnerability is real. The world's dependence is deeper than most realize, and China knows it. How did the West become so dependent on China for rare earths? Short-term thinking and faith in free markets led corporations to chase the cheapest supply. China, governments ignored the long-term risks, happy with low prices and abundant electronics. Environmental concerns pushed rare earth mining out of the West and into China. As Western mines closed, expertise and innovation vanished. By the time policymakers woke up, the industrial base was gone. The West had outsourced not just production, but pollution and knowledge. The dependence was now total. The world's wake-up call came in 2010, when a seemingly isolated maritime incident would send shockwaves through the global economy and international relations. In the choppy waters near the disputed Senkaku Islands, a Chinese fishing trawler collided with Japanese Coast Guard ships, igniting a diplomatic firestorm between two of Asia's biggest powers. Japan responded by arresting the trawler's captain, while China immediately demanded his release, escalating tensions and drawing the world's attention to the standoff. When Japan refused to back down, China quietly retaliated, not with warships but by halting all rare earth shipments to Japan, a move that would have far-reaching consequences. The impact was immediate and severe. Japan's high-tech industries, which rely heavily on rare earth elements, faced sudden shutdowns and production delays. Panic spread through boardrooms and factory floors alike as supply chains snapped, leaving managers scrambling to find alternatives and keep operations running. The message was unmistakable. China could choke off the supply of vital materials at any moment, holding a powerful card over the world's most advanced economies. Prices for rare earths and related goods soared worldwide, exposing just how fragile and interconnected the global supply chain had become. Although China denied imposing an official embargo, the world was not convinced. Action spoke louder than words, and the disruption was undeniable. After 2 tense weeks and mounting international pressure, China resumed exports, but the warning had been delivered, and the world was now on high alert. China had demonstrated its willingness to weaponize its near monopoly on rare earths, sending a clear signal to governments and industries everywhere. The era of complacency ended overnight, as leaders realized that critical resources could be used as leverage in geopolitical disputes. Governments and corporations worldwide began urgently reassessing their vulnerabilities, launching new efforts to secure supply chains and reduce dependence on a single source. The shot across the bow had been fired, and the world could no longer ignore the risks lurking beneath the surface of global trade. From that moment on, the world would never look at rare earths or the power of supply chains the same way again. The 2010 incident spurred a global race to break China's grip. The US, EU, Australia, Japan, and Canada are investing billions to rebuild rare earth supply chains. The strategy: diversify sources, rebuild processing, and innovate in recycling and substitution. Mines like Mountain Pass in California and Lynas in Australia are ramping up. New projects are underway in Canada, Greenland, and Sweden. The goal isn't to replace China, but to prevent any single country from holding a monopoly. The real challenge is processing, building sophisticated plants outside China. The US and allies are funding new facilities and research. Urban mining, recycling rare earths from old electronics, offers hope for a secondary supply. Scientists are also working to reduce or replace rare earths in key technologies. The race is on, a marathon of engineering, chemistry, and geopolitics. The path to rare earth independence is long and difficult. It took China decades to build its dominance. Rebuilding in the West will take years. New mines and processing plants face high costs, strict regulations, and local resistance. Rare earths will get more expensive, raising the price of everything from iPhones to fighter jets. Are we willing to pay the price for security? Environmental concerns remain a major hurdle. The West must balance supply security with environmental protection. The stakes remain dependent on a rival or invest in resilience. The contest for rare earths will shape the future of technology, energy, and global power.